Apartment 7A is a prequel to the 1968 horror drama classic Rosemary's Baby and is directed by Meryl Streep's favorite pedo, Roman Polanski. This film was written and directed by Natalie Erica James and co-written by Christian White. The film tells the story of the first victim of the Cassavetes, Terry Ginofrio, a minor character in the original film that didn't seem interesting at all. In this reimagining, Terry's a dancer who suffers an injury that forces her to become dependent on painkillers. On top of that, she won't get a real job because she's too lazy, and she only wants to dance because that's the whole reason why she came to New York in the first place. And she auditions and auditions and auditions and gets rejected because she can't dance anymore. She's technically just limping all over the place. She suffered a really serious injury. She broke her leg or her foot, and it's not going to happen anymore. But she just has this dream, this passion that she wants to keep pursuing, even though she's constantly getting rejected. She auditions for a play, doesn't get it, gets rejected by the director of this play, and then she scurries on over to where the director lives to try to persuade him to give her the part that she's unqualified for because she has a broken leg. And in the process, she throws up in the street and she's introduced to the Cassavetes. They bring her in. That's how they bring in the part that Terry was a dope head, because she mentions that to Rosemary in the first film, in the original, the good film.
The Cassavetes are the most wonderful people in the world, bar none. You know, they picked me up off the sidewalk, literally.
You were sick?
I was starving and on dope and doing a lot of other things. They're childless, though. I'm like the daughter they never had. At first, I thought they wanted me for some kind of a sex thing, but they've turned out to be like real grandparents.
I don't know why I have such a strong connection to Rosemary's Baby. Maybe I'm the spawn of Satan. I don't understand. But all I know is I really do love this film. I watch it every year. I love the music. I love the direction. I love the acting. I love the story. I love how they did satanic things without making it so mystical and things like that. Yes, the idea of Satan, being conjured into the real world and having sex with Rosemary and her being pregnant with his child. That is the fantastical idea, yes. But they don't focus so much on that. The movie's about her and her suffering while she's pregnant, and everyone making her think that she's absolutely crazy for having these feelings and this not feeling comfortable with her pregnancy. And the end is the best ending ever. And this is just not very good at all. I mean, I'm not going to totally crap on it. There are some good aspects into this film, technically. It is well acted. I think everybody does a decent job in acting. I think Diane West, who is the mom in Lost Boys, I think she does a fantastic job mimicking Minnie. Her voice is great. Kevin McNally plays Roman. I think he's a great stand-in for Roman. I think he does a good job in this. When they on screen, I believe that that's Roman and Minnie to an extent.
No. Oh, good morning, dear. How'd you sleep?
She needs coffee. You need coffee. Sit down, sit down.
You look terrible.
Because Diane West is a little bigger and not as obnoxious, technically. She's trying, but she's not as obnoxious as Minnie is. I will say, Julia Garner, I thought she did a great job up to a certain point. And that point comes towards the end. There's something that happens, and it seems like her acting, she just stopped caring. And she realized what type of film she was in, and she was like, and it was just like, what?
It's not me, it's them. It's them. This is so much bigger than me. They did something. They did something to that woman, to Vera, to Mrs. Gardenia, and she was one of them.
Are you scaring
No.
me?
The way that woman looked at me, she knew. It's too late. Okay? This thing, it's just, there's something wrong with me. It's like a part of me, and I can't run from this. Okay?
Whatever it is, we'll figure it out. We'll leave.
No. I have to face this on my own.
Fucking white people.
I think the set decorations are fantastic. I think the wardrobes are really good. I think the cinematography is great. And so there are good aspects in here, and the musicals. There's a bunch of musical numbers and a bunch of dance scenes. A lot of those are done very well, especially one where she's having a dream. And I get it. They were doing something different, but it seems like they should have done something with that, because that seems like that director is very good at that. Very good at that. I was watching and I was like, wow. Those parts are good until they ruin it too, because there's a whole scene and things happen. I'm just going to get into spoiler territory with this review, so brace yourself. Now, if I was to say that the writer and the director of this film didn't watch the original and that's why they came up with this abomination, I'd be lying, because I do think they watched the original, or they did what I think a lot of writers do in Hollywood, which is
watch a few movies, take a few notes. It was fun.
And it just seems evident because they add these little things here and there. Like, let's say Terry, for example. Julia Garner plays Terry. The original Terry is nothing. She's a minor character. She's just introduced to be the bridge between Rosemary and the Cassavetes. And they lost their little girl. They lost their little sacred cow who was pregnant probably at the time because she has the necklace already. And she tells Rosemary, this is the necklace. But if you could see her character in the original, she's already very happy. She's happy that she's with the Cassavetes. She's a happy-go-lucky person. Doesn't seem like she actually has a job. She doesn't seem like this aspiring person that wants to. She doesn't seem like Guy. Because Guy in the original, he's the one that wanted to be famous. The original Terry doesn't seem that way. This Terry does. This Terry wants that. So that's another conundrum you have with this film, because it seems like if they were to come clean to her and tell her exactly what they were planning to do, that she would accept it, because Guy did, and she seems like the same type of character like Guy. That's all she cares about is her passion for dancing. So why wouldn't she, if she was known she could get everything she wanted? Because she has no real connection to anything like religious. Religion is barely brought into this. It's brought in for a brief period of time when Terry realizes something's wrong, and she basically who's her name? Miss Gardenia, who's supposed to be, her apartment's supposed to be next to Minnie's apartment. And that I guess in this movie they say that Minnie and Roman bought the other apartment that's next to Mrs. Gardenia. And that's why they were gonna, this makes no sense. That's why they're giving it to Terry, because they find Terry vomiting on the street. They bring her inside and they say, "Listen, we have this apartment. They're just giving this to this woman." And she's like, "What? This is so awkward. Everything happens so rushed and ridiculous." The writing is really bad, actually. The writing is pretty bad in this movie. Because it's just like everything happens so gracefully. The most interesting things are the beginning, like when you see what happens to Terry, and then they just try to force it onto this. Let's get it wrapping into the Cassavetes. Let's have them find her. And look, you could have had that whole beginning, and you could have had her actually get kicked out of her apartment, be living on the streets, being down and out, being a bum, and then these people save her, and that's what she gets brought into, being like, oh, the Cassavetes are great and everything, but have some sort of connection with something like religion, which isn't brought into this film at all, especially with Terry's character. I never cared for Terry in this movie. I felt nothing. I felt no connection really with her. Like I said, I feel like she would have been like Guy. She would have accepted this and she would have done it. Not once did I worry about anything, because all she was worried about was her career. And when the Cassavetes offer her, they say, hey, listen, you don't want to have the kid, don't get it aborted. We'll raise the kid for you. And then it seems like they were trying to tell her too at times, like, oh, you've gotten everything. Like, basically, we've given you everything. We gave you a free apartment in a beautiful neighborhood. We've given you this, we've given you that. But anyway, it's supposed to be Minnie and Roman's apartment that's connected to Mrs. Gardenia. That's why they put that, Mrs. Gardenia put the shelf to block the door.
That's odd. There's a closet behind that secretary. I'm sure there is.
Yeah, oh, I think you're right.
She moved it. It used to be there.
I guess they're trying to imply that in this film, it wasn't Mrs. Gardenia that put it there. It was Roman and Minnie. That makes no sense either. Because there's a scene where Terry finds the hidden door in her closet, and she goes into Mrs. Gardenia's apartment, and we see all the herbs and everything that Rosemary sees in the beginning of Rosemary's Baby, and she walks in, and then she finds the note that was, conveniently the little note. That's the Easter egg. Oh, look, remember the note that Rosemary saw? Anyway, there's a lot of little Easter egg things in there, and that's about everything that there is in there. This movie in general is a really lackluster, pain in the ass to get through, and it's a disappointment for anyone who's a fan of the original. They technically just do the same beats pretty much, and yet they ruin things too. Like, one of the best things about the original is the fact that we don't actually see the Satan making love with Rosemary. We just have that fantastic scene where Rosemary realizes,
This is no dream. This is really happening.
like, and then you see fingers and things like that. In this one, what do? They do a big dance routine, which is because she was drugged. But they do have the moment where you see it, and it's just like not scary. It's ridiculous. It's a CG monster, and they constantly do that in this. It's just so everything is lackluster in this film, and they were trying to make it something, but I guess Paramount knew that this was garbage anyway, because they were like, nope, bye, cancel this, like just put it on streaming. We're not going to release it in theaters. And if they had real hopes for it, it would have been released in theaters, unless, I don't know. It had potential in the beginning, but like I said, they follow the same beats and they do nothing new. One thing they do, which is interesting and good, is when all of a sudden she goes to the church to ask for help, or she looks for the other girl, that they had a girl before her that obviously vanished too. She finds this girl's name. She finds her stuff that's been put in storage. She has rosary beads, and she holds it, and it burns her hand, and she drops it. I was like, oh, now we're getting good. Then she goes to a church and asks for help, and then she starts having like pain because the demon child's in her and is in pain. That was interesting. And then they do nothing with it. A sister comes and approaches her and says, are you okay? And then sees the book that she's holding and says, where'd you get that book? And gives us exposition on everything that we pretty much, if you're a fan, you already know, but obviously they know a lot of people aren't fans of the original Rosemary. There's a lot of people I talk to that they don't remember the original Rosemary's Baby. And I'm like, oh my God, it's such a good movie. So he gives them the whole history that Hutch gave us in the first film about the building that she's living in.
Are you aware that the Bradford had rather an unpleasant reputation around the turn of the century? It's where the Trench sisters conducted their little dietary experiments. And Keith Kennedy held these parties. Adrian Mercado lived there too, so did Pearl A.
The Trench sisters.
The Trench sisters were two proper Victorian ladies. They cooked and ate several young children, including a niece.
Oh, lovely.
Adrian Mercado practiced witchcraft. He made quite a splash in the 90s by announcing that he'd conjured up the living devil. Apparently people believed him, so they attacked and nearly killed him in the lobby of the Bramford.
You're joking.
They called it Black Bramford.
Also, that's another thing they do. Spoiler alert. So in this film, everybody in the building is a Satanist. You see, yes, there's a moment in Rosemary's Baby where Rosemary and Guy are about to make love in their bed, and they hear Minnie talking to Roman and saying, you shouldn't have told her in advance. That's why we had to, like, she broke through the window, because you told her in advance. I told you she wasn't going to be able to handle that. I never thought it was everybody in the damn building in that first film. I thought they were from all over. I thought it was just Roman and Minnie were the two, and Mrs. Gardenia, obviously, because she wrote, I can no longer be associated with this, because she was having problems too. No, not this film. The whole building. Even the doorman or the elevator operator in this movie is a Satanist. That was ridiculous. I was like, what? Also, I want to give the film kudos for not showing scenes from the original Rosemary's Baby, because you never want to show scenes from a better film in your film, even though they're trying to pass it off as Rosemary in the scene where Terry is doing laundry, and after she's scared or whatever, the elevator opens and a woman comes out. We're supposed to think that's Rosemary, but it's not, and I'll tell you why it's not. Because first off, Terry has long hair in that scene, and in the original, she has short hair in the beehive type do. Second, she's not wearing the same thing she's wearing in the original. Third, Rosemary doesn't live in the building yet, because Mrs. Gardenia in this film, 7A, is still in her apartment. Rosemary gets Mrs. Gardenia's apartment in Rosemary's Baby, and we got a long way to go after this scene until Mrs. Gardenia shows up in Terry's house to try to kill her. So that cannot be Rosemary. They're trying to pass it off like, oh look, see, Rosemary's there. It's not Rosemary. As I said, this movie is half-ass. It's mediocre. It's not even mediocre, honestly. I would say, by the way, let me tell you something else about the actress Julia Garner not caring. At the end, when she's finally told everything, she goes into Roman and Minnie's apartment, and everyone's sitting there like the last film, and she's like, "Hail Satan, hail Satan!" And then all of a sudden they play "Be My Baby."
There was Jimmy and Tommy and me, and there was Anthony Stabile.
How you doing?
Frankie Carbone. And then there was Mo Black's brother, Fat Andy. And his guys, Frankie the Wop. And you had Nicky Eyes.
What's up, guy?
And then she jumps out the window. And again, continuity-wise, they didn't really care to link these two films together because she's not wearing what she wore when the original Terry dies. And then we're supposed to also think that Guy and Rosemary are the first ones to see her, but no, because they come later in the original film. I think that's what they're trying to imply with these little scenes. But maybe not. Maybe they just like, maybe people will think that. Maybe. Well, maybe people would, but I'm like, that's not the timeline. And how the hell did Roman and Minnie decide to leave, change their clothes too, because they're not wearing the same things when the original Terry dies, and they're walking around, and then they come back, and then they see, because Rosemary and Guy see Terry first, and then the Cassavetes come in the original. So anyway, this movie's all over the place. Yeah, this movie's really not good at all. And I think for me, it's worse. I think most people would say it was whatever, but because I like the original Rosemary's Baby, I love it. I think it's a great Halloween film. It's got the music, it's got the acting, the story. I love everything about the original. This has nothing. They did nothing. And the interesting things they did do, they didn't pursue that even more, that's what they should have pursued, which was Terry should have been religious or something, or use a different girl. Why use Terry? Use the girl before Terry. They could have done a story about her. And then they see Terry later on. It didn't work out with that girl. She dies a different way. And then they see Terry on the streets. They decide, let's just take this homeless girl and take her in. They could have done that instead of doing this. This movie could have been about a totally different girl and not try to incorporate so much about Rosemary's Baby's film into this. It could have been like, oh my God, guess what? They're the Cassavetes. Or like they could have been a different satanic memberships. Could have been other people trying to do this and not Roman because he was the son of his father. That's all. It could have been a different one wanting to do this before Roman. And then Roman says, you know, we came close. Let's do it again. Something better. This was just not good. This did not even have to be made. But whatever. Anyway, I give this a pure doo-doo. That's what this movie's pure doo-doo. Anyway, let me know in the comment section if you saw this film, what you thought, if you've seen the original Rosemary, combining them, like, what do you think? Does this hold? I don't think it holds up at all. Like there's nowhere near. Rosemary Baby's here. This movie's all the way in the gutter. But let me know in the comment section down below what you thought. If you like this video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new here. And I will talk to you guys next time. Peace.